Good morning, Unity East. What a joy it is to be here with you today, or to be there, to be here. I guess I'm a little bit of both. I've always wished I could be in two places at once. It looks like I finally achieved that goal. This must be what people mean when they say, I'll be with you in spirit, because I certainly am. But this can also be considered what's referred to as the bright side of things. You know, During the pandemic, it was so hard. So many things were really challenging to be separate. And yet, it also gave us the opportunity to embrace technology. And for that, I am truly grateful. So, to celebrate the many different ways God blesses us in every situation, will you join me in saying our statement of being? God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. I am an individualized expression of God. I am ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. And that is the truth. Now, I'd like to take us into a little bit of a longer prayer today, just to center ourselves in the teachings and of unity and the faith and the assurance that comes when we're aligned with those truths. So allow yourself to settle in. We'll go right from our prayer into a shorter meditation since we're having a longer prayer today. But I invite you to really hear the words that I'm going to be praying and allow yourself just to take them into your heart, really to be present with them. Prayer is the foundation of unity. Prayer and meditation were the heart of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore's teachings. It's where it all began. So allow yourself to take a deep breath and just settle into your chair. Close your eyes if you're comfortable. Divine Source, we gather here today, a community of faith and love, to turn our hearts and our minds to you in prayer. I invite you now to bring to mind any people or situations that you wish to hold in prayer, and just see their faces, feel their presence, and know that in this sacred space we are united in a shared intention of love and healing. Let us begin by entering into the silence. Release all thoughts of worry or concern, and let go of the need to fix or to control. Simply be present in this moment, in this breath, in this stillness. For in the quiet of our hearts, we create the space to hear the still small voice of God within. From this place of inner stillness, we affirm the truth of God's presence. God is here right where we are, God is. Always. God is everywhere. God is in you. God is in me. God is the very life within us, the very substance of our being. We are one with this divine presence, and in this oneness, all things are possible. We affirm that God is a loving, responsive presence, ever ready to answer our prayers. As we are reminded in 1 John 5:14, this is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. We know our prayers are heard. So now we bring our specific prayers before this loving presence. We bring them into our minds and our hearts. And we release our loved ones and our situations into the hands of the divine. We do not ask for a specific outcome, but instead we declare our faith that our divine order is established in every situation. And we release the outcome so that we may be open and receptive to it looking even greater than we have imagined. Knowing that the answers may come in forms we may not have known about or thought of ourselves. So we declare that those we hold in our hearts are surrounded by God's perfect love, wisdom, and healing power. We declare that our path forward for each of us is illumined by divine light, and that all needs are met. We release these situations to God, trusting completely in divine love and wisdom. We now move from asking to knowing. We realize and affirm that our union with God is constant. We are not separate from the divine, we never can be, but rather we are an extension of it. The power that we have prayed for is not coming from some external source, but from the Christ within us. We are channels of God's love, healing, and abundance. We are one with the very source of all good, and therefore we have all the power we need to be a blessing in the world. We feel this connection, this oneness, as a tangible and powerful truth in this moment. And now we give thanks. We give thanks for the perfect answer to our prayers, even before we see it manifest in the physical world. We give thanks for the love that surrounds us and the wisdom that guides us. We give thanks for the peace that surpasses all understanding and for the faith that makes all things possible. We give thanks for the Christ within, which is our assurance of good. And we release these prayers knowing that they are already heard and answered. And we move forward in faith, in love, and with gratitude. And so it is. And so it shall be. And now, as we go into meditation, I invite you just to notice where you may still have thoughts running through your mind or holding tension in your body. And just allow yourself to relax into this moment, to release everything that you can. And then take a deep breath and release the rest. Allow yourself to be fully supported in the chair where you're sitting. Close your eyes if you haven't already, if you're comfortable, and just take one more deep cleansing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And again, breathing in peace and breathing out all tension. Now bring your awareness to the center of your being, to that quiet place within where the Christ light resides. You are one with this divine presence. It is your very essence. And now I invite you to bring your mind to a situation in your life or maybe a place within your body where you still feel tense or stuck. You don't have to change anything about it. Just observe it. And now in your mind's eye, see yourself consciously, lovingly choose to release the illusion of powerlessness. Give yourself permission to rest in faith. Remember that you are a powerful child of God. Just breathe that truth in as we affirm to ourselves. I am a channel for divine will. My choices are guided by the wisdom of the universe. I choose to align my thoughts with peace, my words with love, and my actions with joy. Just feel the surge of empowerment that comes with these conscious choices. Feel that renewed sense of energy in your body. Breathe in this truth. Let it fill every cell of your being from the top of your head down to the bottom of your feet. And notice where you feel it in your body. You have the power of choice. You have the power of will. You are free. And as we begin to bring our attention back to this space, I invite you to bring this power back with you. Sit up a little straighter if you're guided to. And just take one more deep breath and breathe in the power of that truth. And so it is. And now, as we get ready to speak our meditation response, I want to point out that you'll notice a shift in the words this week. As you sing these words, hear that shift. Prior, it said, "May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord." But I want to remind you that every part of us is always accepted in God's eyes and God's heart. And so I've shifted our words, and I invite you to join me in the shift, not only as we sing it, but also as we live it. To remember that you are aligned and we are always accepted, and we can choose to align even when we have the illusion that we're out of alignment. We can choose to realign. So may we be aligned with you, with that Christ presence within that we are always connected to. So if you will now join me in singing our meditation response. And now I will pass over the mic to our soloist today, Nancy, who I know is going to bless you with her words and her gifts and her talents. I may not be there in person, but I know the music was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Today, we continue to focus on one of the most fundamental of the 12 powers of man, as outlined by Charles Fillmore, the power of will. It's kind of a continuation of last week. Fillmore teaches us that will is the executive power of mind, the power of choice, which is our key word for today, choice. It's the ability to say yes to divine good and to say no to limiting thoughts. And we all have them, right? Our will is not some stubborn brute force, but rather is like that quiet, steady rudder of that steers the ship for our consciousness, like I spoke about last week, right? It allows us to direct our thoughts. It's the conscious choice to align our thoughts, our feelings, our actions with that indwelling Christ, which I know is not always easy. It takes practice. But think of it this way. The universe is a vast sea of potential, right? Divine ideas are constantly flowing, just waiting for us to choose them, to give them form in our lives. Myrtle Fillmore said, "It is our privilege and our duty to choose the good and discard the bad." It's kind of like sorting produce at the grocery store, right? Do you bring home the brown bananas? I'm guessing not. It is our divine birthright to exercise the power of choice. We are not victims of circumstances, even though it feels that way at times. Rather, we are creators of our reality. Even when something bad happens to us, and it happens, right? We still have the choice of how we respond and what we continue to focus on afterwards, day after day after day, right? Eric Butterworth said, "You always have a choice." No matter what a person does, he said, the question that we need to ask ourselves is, why should I let them decide how I'm going to think or feel or act? The choice is mine. I must not give that choice to someone else. Those are some powerful words. Every single moment presents us with a choice. You've heard me say it before. One of my favorite quotes, I used to keep it up on a sticky note on my computer. It said, "Look at your feet. If you don't like where you're standing, move." We always have a choice. Will we choose to worry, or will we choose to trust? Will we choose to focus on lack, or will we choose to notice the abundance that's already here? Will we choose to be reactive, or will we choose to be a conscious creator? Our lives are the sum total of these choices. Hear that again. Our lives, your life, is the sum total of your choices. Whew. Powerful, deep, kind of awakening statement that is. Will is the deliberate decision to rise above the circumstances of our outer world and to anchor ourselves in the truth of our being. The beautiful truth, though, for me, is that your power of will allows you to consciously choose to activate any one of the 12 powers at any given moment. When you feel fear, you can choose to activate your power of faith and trust God's plan. When you feel a moment of friction or conflict of some sort, you can choose to activate your power of love to see with a compassionate heart. When you feel scattered or unfocused, anyone ever feel that way? You can choose to engage your power of order to bring harmony into your life. The power of will is the master key, really, that unlocks and directs all the other powers within you. We are not passive recipients of these powers. We are the active directors of them. I'm curious, what is your power of choice? Are you all familiar with the different 12 powers? If not, you'll hear a little more about them later. What is your power of choice? I'd love to hear about it. Send me a message. Send me an email or a text or however you may be in contact with me. I'd love to hear what is your power of choice. For me, one of my favorites is imagination. The power of imagination, because it reminds me of what's possible. I love to play in my imagination. But the truth is, all of the powers are available to us and working together actively in us and through us. But let's not mistake the will for willpower in the conventional sense. Okay. It's not about forcing things to happen. Like faith isn't about being blindly reckless, right? Will is about consciously, lovingly, and persistently choosing the highest good and then getting out of the way and allowing divine law to work through us. We don't always need to know the how. My friends, the how is sometimes even greater than we ever would have imagined on our own. But we have to get out of the way for sometimes for those things to show up, right? Sometimes we can be the obstacles to our own good. Will is more about the decision to live from our Christ self. And as we learn to use this power wisely, we become really masterful co-creators with God. We move from being passive passengers to active participants in the unfolding of our divine destiny. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't have moments of fear and frustration, anxiety, and the whole roller coaster of other human emotions, right? They happen all the time. It simply means that we have the power to choose in those moments. We can choose to react, to complain, to give up, to, fight, flee, freeze, or we can choose to pause, to pray, to center ourselves, and to shift. Feel the feelings, observe the situation, and then choose just the next step. Just the next step. Maybe it's to consciously breathe instead of speak in the moment. Hmm, can you imagine? Right? Or consciously choose to go for a walk instead of respond in the moment. Maybe it's to sleep on it or phone a friend, right? The true power is in choosing to pivot from one state of mind to another. And the more we practice choosing, the quicker we will notice when we need to, and then the more able we'll become at pausing and doing what best serves us and helps us to choose again and again and again. Because the truth is, we often have to keep choosing. Let our buttons get pushed. That's not usually a one and done, right? We may take that pause and center ourselves, and then someone pushes another button. So pivoting is about, first of all, noticing what we're thinking, what we're feeling, where our state of mind is. Are we in react mode? And then choosing to phone a friend or do whatever we need to do to align ourselves, to pause, to pray, right? And shift our energy to a different state so then we can respond to whatever's before us. Charles Fillmore said, "The mind of man is like the net catching every idea." And he said, "It is man's privilege and duty under the divine law to separate those that are good from those which are not good." The mind of man is like a net catching every idea. Holy cow, that is so true for me. My mind catches all sorts of stuff. And when I'm not noticing, there may be things going on up there that are causing me to be off center, to be in react mode, to worry or whatever is going on. So the first step has to be to notice and then separate, right? Really determine what is serving me, what is not. Where is my mind, started to spiral, and come back to center. His quote highlights the active role of the will perfectly, really. It's not just in making a choice, but in the constant process of discerning and sifting through the thoughts that come to us. It is not just our responsibility, but the opportunity, really, that we've been gifted with. First to notice, and then to choose thoughts that align with our divine nature over and over and over again. Now, last week, I invited you all to join in the 100 Happy Days Challenge, and I'm so excited to see some of you playing along online. It brings me happiness to see it. It really, truly does. But whether you're actively participating or not, I thought it was important to share today's message with you, since we often experience what Charles Fillmore referred to as chemicalization when we decide to make a shift. In the Revealing Word, Charles Fillmore describes it as a condition of the mind that is brought about by the conflict that takes place when a high spiritual condition contacts an old error state of consciousness. Those are a lot of words, right? He goes on to clarify his definition of chemicalization in the Revealing Word. He says, when a new spiritual idea is introduced into the mind, some negative belief is disturbed. It resists. With this resistance comes more or less commotion in the consciousness. This is called chemicalization. So, in my words, it's kind of like when you decide to give up eating sugar and your best friend knocks on your door with your favorite dessert in hand. Kind of like that, right? When you decide to make a shift, it's like the universe says, "But are you sure? I mean, let me tempt you. Let me just question to make sure you're positive about this." So I want to encourage you today to keep going. Keep going. It'll pass. Keep choosing to look for the good. When you sign up to focus on what made you happy every day for 100 days in a row, there's going to be some days that feel exactly opposite of happy. Push through it. Go find something you can call good in those days, whether you're participating in the challenge or not. I invite you to start to notice more. Just pause, even if you're not feeling out of alignment. Just pause every now and then to notice where your mind is at. Just observe. No need to judge it. And if it's not where you want it to be, choose again. Are your daily habits, are your thoughts, are your words getting you closer to the life you want to be living, or are they keeping you in bondage to the old limiting beliefs? Because if they're keeping you from where you want to be, re-choose, choose again and again, as often as is needed, because it's an ongoing process. It's not a one and done. So to close today, what came to mind as I was thinking about all of this was the Beatitudes. Yes, I grew up Catholic. So if anyone else did, you were probably familiar with the Beatitudes. But I had a little fun and asked AI to rewrite them for me to align with the 12 powers. So I'm going to read the rewritten Beatitudes in hopes that they remind you of the 12 powers available to and within you. They are who you are, and we can choose to remember at any given time. So take a breath and take these in as I share them with you. These are the truth of who you are. The power of faith. Blessed are those who trust in the invisible, for they shall behold the unfolding of their divine good. The power of love. Blessed are those who express unconditional love, for they shall know the wholeness of the universe. The power of will. Blessed are those who choose to align with the divine, for they shall become masters of their destiny. The power of judgment. Blessed are those who see the Christ in all things, for their wisdom shall guide them. The power of power, or spoken word. Blessed are those who recognize their inner spiritual might, for they shall overcome all challenges. The power of imagination. Blessed are those who envision the good, for they shall create their world from the substance of spirit. The power of understanding. Blessed are those who seek spiritual truth, for they shall be filled with light. The power of life. Blessed are those who radiate life-giving energy, for they shall experience eternal renewal. The power of zeal. Blessed are those who are filled with divine enthusiasm, for they shall accomplish great things. The power of order. Blessed are those who bring divine order to their lives, for they shall know peace. The power of reunification, release, elimination. Blessed are those who release limiting beliefs, for they shall inherit the freedom of spirit. And the power of strength. Blessed are those who stand firm in their truth, for they shall be fortified by the divine. My friends, we are in this together to remind each other, to lift one another up, to remember, to choose again, without judgment, without shame, without blame. Take time this week to simply notice where your mind is at, where maybe old thoughts are creeping in, and pause. Take a deep breath and choose what next step you take. Just the next step, just the next choice is yours for the choosing. And now to affirm our truth, if you will join me in singing the Lord's Prayer together, remembering that this is not only our prayer, but an affirmation of our truth. And now is our time of tithes and offerings. And I'd like to begin by giving you a little piece of food for thought. Think of a tithe as a consciousness of God first. As we give of our time, our talent, our treasure, the many different ways that we give, not just in the basket at the back of the room where we drop our financial offerings that support this incredible community and all the ways in which we serve from this space, or online if you're online when you click the button to give a donation. Not just in that way, but as we give also of our talent, our treasures, our time, as you volunteer, those helpers that we never even know are behind the scenes, the different ways that we bless and we serve in all the ways in the world. Know that when we give remembering that God is our source from a consciousness of God first. From that place, we remember that all things are possible, and that as we give of our time, our talent, and our treasures, those ties, when coming from a place of love, they go out and they are multiplied. They ripple out and then they return to us. So when we come from a place of love, from the consciousness of God first, we remember that God is our source and that there is no limit to the ways in which God can work in the world through us, through others, through the universe. And for that, we just say, thank you, God. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. And together, let's say our offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give joyfully and easily, for the universe is my source, and abundance is my nature. And so it is. Thank you, God, as we bless these offerings in all the ways that we give. We thank you for the ways in which they bless this community and far, far beyond. And we thank you for the ways they return to bless us. Amen. And now, as I get ready to go, I pass it on to Nancy and just wish you all a wonderful week. I can't wait to hear about your power of choice and the definite different ways that will show up for you when you start to notice and start to choose differently. Have a wonderful week, my friends. Enjoy this music and the week ahead. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great day.